So the leadership team at Cogoport has decades of experience in international trade domain. So most of them had been at leadership positions at various global freight forwarding organizations, and they saw that there's a lot of complexity involved in the whole ecosystem of international logistics. They observe this complexity very closely while working at these organizations. So especially these complexities that we're talking about, they are even higher for players like small and medium scale enterprises that exist in the market. So when we talk about small and medium scale enterprises, they have limited constraints, limited bandwidth to handle certain constraints like the financial investments, uh, the human resource investments to handle these complex processes, these lot of documents which are involved in the international trade logistics. So this kind of makes the international trade very unfavorable for these SMEs. So you'll be surprised to know that out of 500 million SMEs that exist across the globe, only 3% of them trade internationally. And this is even a higher or more complex problem statement for a country like India. So in India, the economy is highly dependent upon how these SMEs are performing in the market. Uh, and because we are very highly driven by these small and medium scale enterprises which are distributed across the country. And for a country like India, in case of these lack of clarities, lack of understanding that how these processes need to be taken up, this is hampering the growth for these small and medium scale enterprises. So this was a problem statement that we had picked up when we started with Cogoport, when we launched Cogoport. And now we are trying to solve the problem statement through two modes. One is by providing seamless logistics solutions to these SMEs. And second is by providing the working capital for these SMEs to grow their business and trade internationally. The global freight logistics industry is facing challenges across multiple domains. Some of them are price ambiguity, which is that a customer who's coming to book a cargo from point A to point B, they don't have visibility on what price they need to pay beforehand. Second is there is a lot of documentation which is involved, a lot of physical documentation which is involved. And the third one, the major problem statement is that there is lack of visibility in terms of where their actual cargo is while the shipment is being executed. So these are a few of the major problem statements that the industry is facing. So I'll give you an example. So assuming that a container moves from point A, which is the factory for a particular supplier, to the consumer, it passes through approximately 21 entities during the whole process. And majority of the handoffs that are happening within these different entities are very manual in nature. So when I say the handoffs are manual, what I mean is that there is a lot of human dependency when it comes to mapping of these different processes, giving inputs in terms of documentation. And because of these processes being highly manually driven, the data that we get, or the data that is provided by the consumer or the shipper for these documents is not in all the cases is transferred to the corresponding entity. So there's a lot of duplication of data which is there, a lot of inefficiencies which are there in terms of the whole process. So some of these problems can be easily solved by, let's say, digitization of certain documents, by using blockchain technology in creating a common ledger where a customer can come and see the transactions and have complete visibility of what is happening on the shipment. Artificial intelligence can provide the freight rate estimations in terms of what kind of pricing that they can predict on which they need to book. So imagine Amazon not having a price for a product that you're going to buy. So that kind of problem statements are there in the freight industry. That's why I think technology can do a lot to ease out these problems. So I was mentioning there are certain problem statements like price visibility, So currently, a customer needs to make 5 to 6 phone calls to actually get a single rate. It takes them 6 to 7 hours. Sometimes it takes them more than 24 hours to get a single rate for a for the shipment needs from port A to port B. This currently is being solved by the pricing tools that we have on the platform. The customer can come, they can enter their requirements, and they get a rate in less than a minute for their specific requirements. Similarly, we have problem statements regarding to where the actual cargo is, what is the cargo location right now. So we have integrated with major providers who can provide the exact location of a particular container. The customer can get visibility where their actual cargo is right now. And this kind of resolves the problem statements where a customer needs to go to multiple sources to actually figure out where the whole shipment is at this point of time. Also, in terms of documentation, if you can remember a scene where there are a lot of documents being passed on in a government office, that is still happening in a lot of freight forwarding organizations across the globe. Uh, so those problem statements can easily be solved by having a document repository online, which do not exist right now for various freight forwarders. So we, through our platform, provide those kind of facilities where uh, the documents get stored in the cloud, and instead of skimming through a lot of emails, maintaining hard copies of the documents, you can actually access all these documents, all this information related to a particular shipment at a single source. So that way, a lot of problems which are being solved, and we have been able to greatly solve all these problems. And there are other problems as well that are there to be solved, but I think uh, some of these major issues that are plaguing the industry right now, in case we are able to solve these, that would bring in a lot of efficiency, a lot of productivity increase in the whole ecosystem. So I think it's still too early to comment on this. The kind of infrastructure that China has, we don't have many replacements in terms of China when we talk about the supply. It is going to be a long process, but there have been some signs. We have seen certain organizations moving their manufacturing hubs to Vietnam. So Vietnam is one of the countries which is gaining a lot because of the things that have recently happened in the globe. India is also very well placed in terms of the kind of labor resources bandwidth we have. We also have huge potential in terms of scaling up the infrastructure. But again, it's too early to comment on where those actually the hubs will shift. But there are certainly some signs that suggest that yes, there is a potential for shift. And in case the countries are well prepared in terms of the infrastructure, resources, easing the looking forward to ensuring that there is ease of business for the companies coming in, then there is obviously an opportunity for all these developing countries. Cogoport is a international logistics marketplace. So we have two sides of the platform, two sides of the stakeholders. One is the importer exporter side, and second is the supplier side. So when I say supplier side, so I mean any freight forwarder, shipping line, a custom house agent, any service provider who want to list their services on the platform. And both are customers for us. So we facilitate the international trade for these importers, exporters through these set of partners that we have listed as service providers. In terms of industry, we are industry agnostic. So we have customers who are from agricultural industry. We have customers who are from manufacturing. We have customers who ship their electronic goods. So we have whole ambit of customers who come and use the services on the platform. So that way the platform is industry agnostic. But then we have different services on the platform as well. So for example, we have earlier we were only dealing with full container loads. Recently, we have also launched the LCL and air freight modules as well, in addition to the trucking and trailers that we already had. So depending upon these the different transportation modes, I think the growth is going to be very different. So for example, in air, we are yet to see the international flights opening up from India. They have recently created bubble with France and US, where the passengers flights would start. But for the rest of the countries, it's yet to start. and most of the cargo that moves is actually moving on these passenger flights in their cargo belly. So that way, that sector is more impacted as compared to, let's say, the ocean or the domestic freight. So hence the growth will be different and the responses that we'll get from these different sectors is going to be different. One interesting sector that is really coming up, and we are also focusing on that, and which is solving a major problem statement for the SMEs, is the working capital issue that the SMEs are facing in this market. So a lot of SMEs, their finances, their payments are actually stuck with a lot of customers, and they are in dire need of a source of capital flow, work capital for their work. So we have come up with this pay later facility where a customer can avail the credit facility to ensure that they don't have to pay immediately for their shipments. And these credit facilities are being provided by Cogoport to a lot of SMEs. So that is one product feature or one sector where we see a lot of demand is going to come from the SMEs in the days to follow. So generally, these services are being provided by NBFCs, but customers can avail it through the platform while they are actually booking the cargo on the platform. So that is there. And when we are doing it, we do thorough checks when it comes to the financial capacity of the customers in terms of what kind of repayment and in what days they can do that. What are the chances of defaults that are there? So there is a whole science and maths behind identifying that what kind of credit days can be offered, what kind of credit ceilings can be offered to these customers. But at least they will have a source from where they can actually access funds in case they need it to grow their business. So in case any company wants to get back on the feet, the only way to do that is through generating growth, generating more products, selling those products, investing money in their own businesses. So that is, I think, the basic element that they need to do in terms of getting back on their feet at this point of time. So that way, I think through these checks and providing them access to a mode of getting the capital is the way forward for them. I would say it is a lot to do with what they're expecting out of themselves as well, more than expecting from Cogoport. So I think they have now started expecting themselves to be more tech driven, more tech aligned. A lot of workforce had been working from home for these organizations as well. It is difficult for them to actually manage the complete operations, maintain those hard copy document files that they had been doing for so many years when their distributed workforce is sitting at different locations. They need a common platform where they can actually manage their complete operations. They can have complete visibility for their shipments. They can have a source which provides them trustworthy information in terms of what they need to pay to ensure that they send their cargo safely from point A to point B. So I think all these expectations are coming out from themselves and also from Cogoport. And that way, I think the alignment is there in terms of the kind of value add that we can provide to them. So in addition to the financial solutions that we just discussed, the kind of foolproof solution or the one-stop solution that we can provide to these different companies to book their cargo, track their cargo, view their invoices, pay their invoices. So everything in one single setup where their distributed workflows can actually work and create value and do that at a reduced cost as well. So we have seen that these companies have been able to reduce their cost of logistics by 10 to 15% by using these kind of technology tools. Their administrative costs have gone down, the resource costs have gone down considerably. Their resources can handle more number of shipments because they're using this technology. So all these parameters are kind of combining and creating that value add for the customers that we have. So I think it has been the trend across various, I think not just logistics. We have seen customers going and using these different technology tools online to do various different operations. Could be just booking your groceries, ordering your groceries, using Amazon. So we have seen the shift and the increase in numbers in customers across the horizon, I would say. I would give you an example that we had been conducting online webinars for these customers since quite some time now. But the kind of response that we have seen for these online seminars, the kind of registration that we have seen, the number of registrations that have gone up during these COVID times has been uh, uh, immense. There's been a high percentage of people who are actually reaching out, asking questions regarding to the different online tools and what they can actually benefit out of it. So I've seen the numbers as well as, but not just the numbers. I think the interest levels and the attempt to understand how they can benefit out of it. Because I think numbers are one thing, but till the time the customer is not willing to understand the value that they can derive out of it, those numbers are just numbers. So in terms of quantity as well as I think the qualitative involvement and inputs that we have seen from customers has considerably increased. So very happy to see that kind of response from the customers. So I think it has been the trend across various, I think not just logistics. We have seen customers uh, going and using these different technology tools online to do various different operations. Could be just booking your groceries, ordering your groceries, using Amazon. So we have seen the shift and the increase in numbers in customers across the horizon, I would say. I would give you an example that we had been conducting online webinars for these customers since quite some time now. But the kind of response that we have seen for these online seminars, the kind of registration that we have seen, the number of registrations that have gone up during these COVID times has been uh, uh, immense. There's been a high percentage of people who are actually reaching out, asking questions regarding to the different online tools and what they can actually benefit out of it. So I've seen the numbers as well as, but not just the numbers. I think the interest levels and the attempt to understand how they can benefit out of it. Because I think numbers are one thing, but till the time the customer is not willing to understand the value that they can derive out of it, those numbers are just numbers. So in terms of quantity as well as I think the qualitative involvement and inputs that we have seen from customers has considerably increased. So very happy to see that kind of response from the customers. So Cogoport started approximately 4 years back in 2016, and till date we have clocked approximately 140,000 containers up till now, and we have moved the goods of approximately dollar value $6.5 billion dollars during these last 4 years. So things have been very interesting up till now, and post-COVID, I think there are more interesting times, exciting times coming ahead because of the new product launches as well. In terms of the challenges that we have been facing, I think one of the uh, most uh, important or most difficult challenge has been uh, the traditional way in which the industry is currently working. And that kind of applies to all the players. There's been a lot of things which are happening from both the private sector and public sector to change the landscape. When we talk about specific to India, let's say, the cost of logistics in terms of the total GDP contribution is around 14%. Whereas when we talk about different countries like Europe, US, any developed country, it is somewhere between 8 to 10%. So what this means is that the product that our customers or our SMEs are producing, they actually become incompetitive in the global markets because of the additional logistics cost that is there. So a lot of initiatives have been taken up by the government as well, which are in line to bring it down to 10% by 2022. And these are the challenges that are spread across. We also have an office in Netherlands, and we see how Netherlands market work and the kind of efficiencies that are there in that market, is something that would want to see very soon in the Indian market as well. So, yep, exciting times ahead for sure. I think, as I mentioned, LCL and Air are very new on the product. Customers who are not shipping their full containers, who are either using partial containers to sell their goods to different countries or using modes of air, they can use the platform to do that. We're also planning to launch in some other countries as well very soon. So those are few um, uh, areas where we will be sending out notifications to the customer across the globe very soon as well. Apart from it, I've already mentioned the pay later module, which customers can use to avail the credit facilities, avail their working capital to grow their business. In addition to that, there are always certain tools which are coming up for our customers, like container tracking. The customers can come and can track their containers. We should be coming up shortly with the sailing schedules and the rate estimator modules as well, where different customers, irrespective of in case they're booking from Cogoport or not, they can come, they can look at the schedules of different shipping lines and airlines. They can see what kind of freight estimates they are going to see in the coming months based on the different parameters uh, which are changing the global rates for these different mode of transport. So all these tools and products should be on the platform very soon for the customers to use. I think pre-COVID era was our supply chains were designed in a way that there was a supply hub, which was China and Southeast Asia, and then we had demand hubs, which were the West, Europe, and US. And we had these long supply chains, global supply chains, which were working efficiently up till now. We were getting a lot of benefits out of it. And post-COVID, we have seen that there are certain gaps in these kind of supply chains that we need to bridge. We'll have to see if, and there have been certain indications that instead of these global supply chains, maybe we will be seeing more regional supply chains going forward. So that is one indication that we have been seeing in the days to come. Secondly, I think there has to be a more nuanced approach to understanding what kind of changes are actually happening across. So when we talk about logistics, the changes have been different based on what commodity is being shipped, what mode of transportation is being used, and within which trades the transportation is happening. So for example, the drop in terms of the commodity uh, space has been less than 5% when it comes to agricultural commodities versus more than 50% when it comes to automobile sector. Similarly, when I talk about trade, the trade route from, let's say, South America to Europe, which has been impacted less than 5% because it is more agriculturally driven, to more than 20% from, let's say, Asia to Europe, which is more mechanical equipments driven trade. So we need to understand all these parameters and base our strategy or make our strategy based on these different kind of needs that will actually emerge from the different patterns that we are going to see in the international trade systems. But I think one thing that I see, which is a silver lining, is that the kind of digital transformation which is happening across the industry and across the global players that we have seen is unprecedented. We have seen a lot of initiatives being taken up. We have seen the consumer behavior actually changing. They are more receptive to these online channels to get the rates, to book their shipments, to track their shipments. So I think these are some good signs, but I think we have to actually customize it based on the actual needs, and the global players, stakeholders involved need to strategize according to these different parameters.